Nice.
Thanks. Take the next step on your journey with GoDaddy.
Now that the holiday season is over, many timeshare owners are facing a winter of expensive upkeep. With rising inflation, now more than ever, we need to look after our money. If you own a timeshare in Spain or the Canaries and bought it after 5th of January 1999, you may have been missold. mytimeshareclaim.co.uk could help you exit your contract and receive substantial compensation. To find out more, text ASSIST to 78900. That's ASSIST to 78900 today.
They just heard how much you can save on their nappies. Download the My Morrison's app and start saving with exclusive offers. Get selected Pampers half price with jumbo packs from just $6.49. Morrison's. Majority of stores subject to availability. New baby jumbo pack was $12.99. Online varies. Ends January 17th. Maximum 5 packs per customer.
Deep breath and relax.
Forget work-life balance. What about your news-life balance? When the news becomes the noise, try The Week magazine for a calmer insight on what matters. Concisely edited from over 200 trusted global news sources, it's all you need to know about everything that matters, with your first 6 issues free. Then auto-renews for $38.99 a quarter, cancel any time. Possibly the most balanced view available, without standing on one leg. Search The Week, free.
At Benson's for Beds, you can get up to 50% off this winter. And until Tuesday, save £100 on our Temper mattresses, which come with a free 10-year guarantee. So whether you're looking for an ottoman with loads of underbed storage, or even a stylish hotel height headboard, you can make your bed your way. And the best bit? Buy now, and you'll pay absolutely nothing till 2024. Search Benson's for Beds. Sleep made better. Terms and conditions apply. 29.8% representative APR. Credit subject to status. Benson's are a credit broker, not a lender. Exclusions and minimum spend apply.
Experience. It's knowing that Saga Travel Insurance has your back wherever you go. With Saga, you're covered for up to £10 million of emergency medical expenses. You can relax in an airport lounge if your flight is delayed by over an hour. Plus, receive same-day payments when making a claim. Simply search Saga Over 50s Travel Insurance for a quote today. Saga Travel Insurance. Experience is everything.
Same-day payments made if approved before 4 p.m. UK time. Register your flight 6 hours before departure. Provided by Astrenska Insurance Limited.
James O'Brien on LBC.
It is 10:50. It is a cat. If there isn't enough cat among the pigeons at the moment with regard to the disability benefits conversation, officials have been urged by senior ministers to consider exempting over 50s returning to work from income tax entirely for 6 months to a year. Well, I'd give up work for a month. I'd give up work for 6 months. Keith can have a go. Do you fancy having a go? It's easy. It's okay, mate. You'll be fine. Just do mystery air every day. Absolute. It's like you give up work for 6 months, and then I suppose you have to be in the top tax rate for this to make sense, but you could take a 6-month holiday and then come back for 6 months and get 6 months without paying any income tax and make exactly the same you would have made over a 12-month period, give or take. I mean, that's unbelievable. You remember yesterday when we talked about whether or not this lot were just headless chickens who haven't got a clue what they're playing at, just throw stuff at the wall, see what happens. Well, exempting over 50s returning to work from income tax entirely for 6 months to a year. Look, that's not going to happen. Well, I say that. I think this is a country that voted for Brexit, but I can't think, that's not, anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. It's just an indication that when I said this story made me do a double take, I was perhaps indulging in understatement. Lorraine's in Todmorden in Yorkshire. Lorraine, what would you like to say? Oh, hang on, Lorraine, hang on, sorry, I just want to, because obviously the conversation unfolds constantly. Keep me anonymous, James, but I do PIP assessments and money never comes into it. We go off evidence only. Thank you for that, Mr. or Mrs. Anonymous. And another one, I'm a PIP assessor. You're not automatically reassessed. David didn't mislead on this, but we didn't cover the whole issue. It depends on the condition and the likelihood of improvement or deterioration. If you're on an enhanced PIP with no chance of improvement, you should never be reassessed. Happy to clarify. Back to Lorraine. What do you want to say, Lorraine?
Hi, James.
Hello.
I'm just wondering. I think it's very laudable to encourage the disabled back into the workforce, but yes. I think they're going about it the wrong way. My story was that I'm 51 now, but at the age of 46, I was actually forced out of my job because of failure to provide reasonable adjustment for my mental health conditions.
Okay.
And these are conditions that, this is an employer that I've worked for 26 years, and I've had my mental health conditions all of that time. I've had them since I was a teenager.
Right.
And I can manage them very effectively and be effective within the workforce as long as I have support and help with various problems I have.
Okay.
And what happened to me at the age of 46, I was going through a particularly challenging time with me, mental health problems, and I needed some additional adjustment.
Okay.
And my employer didn't feel that they could accommodate that, and I was basically forced out of my job, assessed by their occupational health as unfit for work, even though my GP didn't agree with that assessment. So I was in a situation where I was barred from the workplace on the basis of an occupational health assessment without any GP certification.
Yes.
And 6 months later, I was still fighting to try and get back to work, but getting nowhere with my employer. I contacted ACAS at that point to try and resolve the issue, and the response back to ACAS from my employer was, well, how much does she want to go? Because I tried to fight them, I think, is what was the main issue. I tried to actually enforce my rights. And
so how much do you want to clear off?
Yes, basically, and I was forced to sign an NDA in order to get that money. That was 6 years ago now.
Yeah.
And I haven't worked since because
it's so hard to get into
So my point is here, it's dead laudable. Disabled. I contributed for 26 years with full-on mental health problems, that were really difficult. It is possible. The problem is at the employer's side. I work for the government. I won't tell you. So if the government as an employer...
Oh boy. You saved that. You saved that for a twist, didn't you? A twist in the tail. Good grief.
Yeah.
So they are the employer that has failed to do the thing that they're suggesting that all employers should be doing.
Yeah, and I think, and one of the other things I would suggest on the mental health side, in terms of that disability, it's important to realise that it's only since 2010 Equalities Act that mental health has actually been recognised as a disability. So if they're seeing an explosion in people, unable to work because of disability, I would suggest that's
a very disingenuous line in the Times. Their numbers have gone from 600,000 in the early 1990s to about early 1990s to about 2.2 million today, largely driven by mental health conditions. So the suggestion is suddenly we've had you use the word, an explosion of mental health conditions. Actually, they've always been there, and previously people were probably just suffering in both silence and unemployment without getting any help. So it's actually progress of sorts.
I mean, the 2020 Equalities Act was progress. Unfortunately, as I found to my cost, trying to get that enforced, that's where the problem is. But I think it's the same with any discrimination. It's hidden through this kind of what happened to me. Pay off, sign an NDA, don't talk about it.
Well, there it is. I like the fact you started with the word laudable, Lorraine, because that does make sense. And that's where I am now after talking about this for the best part of an hour. You could see a competent, compassionate government actually approaching this issue with good sense and good policy, but this government ain't it. Nope. Not least because the civil service would have been your employer, I presume. Well, we've flirted with your NDA enough, Lorraine. We shall flirt. We certainly won't be consummating that relationship. Thank you. Whatever your name is. It is 10:57 and you are listening to James O'Brien on LBC. Let's just squeeze in Andrea if we can at the end of this hour in Morecambe. or Moricambi, as regular listeners will know it, for reasons I'm not going to explain again. Andrea, what would you like to say?
Well, I'll cut to the heart of it. I've worked since I was 3 years old, up until my condition made it impossible for me to work when I was about 40. I cried when I had to do my job. And I find this whole suggestion that if only for a tax break, that I could suddenly be well enough to suddenly work. And I'm stuck at home. I'd love to work. No one would employ me. I find the whole suggestion condescending and insulting.
Now that might be partly my fault. Although I can't. I mean, you hear what you hear. No one is suggesting that everybody can get back to work. Just that.
No, I accept that. Yeah. I'm disabled. My sister has been unable to walk since she was 15. She works. Everybody I know who is disabled who can work chooses to work if they can get a job.
That's the scary, that's the troubling or the offensive thing about this story, is it conjures up people who may not exist, and if they do, there's a negligible number of them, and yet it creates the idea in the minds of the watching public that there's loads.
Yeah, I mean, I already feel like the DWP makes me feel like a scrounger as it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to beg for everything. I paid my taxes. I used to have a business at one point, and I wouldn't employ me because the last company I worked for, I made a mistake that cost my company, the company I worked for, £40,000 because I made a stupid mistake that I should never have made. I'm upset here.
I know you are. I don't want you to be upset, because you shouldn't feel. I mean, none of us can help the way we feel about things, but no one thinks you're a scrounger. Even if you get that impression, it's not, I hope, coming from the people you deal with directly. It's more likely these decisions that are handed down from above. And I pay my taxes so that people like you, just like you paid your taxes, so that people who need that safety net will be able to find it. I hate the idea of the rhetoric in this country creating a culture which makes you feel like that, Andrea. You really shouldn't, mate. I wish you didn't.
Oh, I wish I didn't either. I mean, I
bet you do.
I grew up a Tory voter.
Yeah.
And always in the back of my head is, I'm just a scrounger. If you should get out and do something, surely you can do something.
You're not. Did you begin by saying that you've been working since you were 3 years old?
Yeah, my mum had the Ramblers Cafe in Morecambe, opposite the Central Pier.
So what were you doing at 3?
Cleaning ashtrays.
God, blimey. I mean, there's probably laws about. No wonder you're a Tory. No wonder you're a Tory. You work there. You'd be putting all the 3-year-olds to work. I'm teasing you. You know that.
Yeah, well, I must admit, when they brought in, we couldn't hire anybody at 12 anymore.
No.
I did feel that was a disgrace because I was about 14 or 15.
No, and I've got teenagers who actually also wonder why it's so hard for them to find paid work that they might be able to do. But I think the answer was, to absolutely ensure that there'd be no exploitation or child labour. I want you to. I don't want to say goodbye until you feel a bit less bad about the things you have no control over. You know that line, don't you, about God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the strength to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, Andrea. These are the things you cannot change. You shouldn't let them haunt you like this.
Yeah, well, they do, but the way I deal with it is everything's got to happen to somebody.
Yeah.
So why shouldn't it happen to me? I'm no better or worse than anyone else.
That's philosophical, and I hope it comforts you. But you're not going to get any criticism here, or any hint whatsoever that you are the architect of your misfortunes. And it's interesting you mentioned politics, because there are, of course, very populist political ideologies or movements that do portray people who need help as somehow being culpable, somehow being blow. We could talk about the deserving and the undeserving poor, don't we? 11:02 is the time.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom, new data shows patients in England had to wait longer for an ambulance in December than any other month on record. The average response time for emergency call-outs for things like epilepsy and strokes was more than 90 minutes. The target is 18. Last month saw the first of this winter's ambulance strikes. Deputy Leader of the Liberal Democrats, Daisy Cooper, says she hopes there's a breakthrough when unions and ministers meet for talks today.
The Secretary of State does need to discuss pay. The fact is that pay is a significant issue, and we know that pay and conditions directly linked to the issue of retention.
An independent investigation has found Jewish students have faced a hostile culture in the National Union of Students. The report was commissioned by the NUS, which says it's committed to tackling anti-Semitism. LBC's correspondent Rachel Venables has been looking at the details.
The union admits these findings are shocking, with the report saying the NUS has failed to properly challenge anti-Semitism. It says views around the Israel-Palestinian conflict sometimes led to a poor relationship between the NUS and some Jewish students, with their complaints not always being taken seriously. The report's author has called for 11 recommendations, including regular anti-Semitism training now for NUS staff and officers.
People who claim disability benefits could in future continue receiving the payment after they return to work. Ministers are looking to change the system to try to get more people back into the workforce. Rishi Sunak is to meet Scotland's First Minister Nicola Sturgeon for face-to-face talks today. The two leaders are expected to discuss a range of subjects, including Holyrood's new gender recognition laws. The Westminster government's expressed concern over the legislation, which will make it easier for people to change their legally recognised gender. And the King is due to carry out his first public engagement today since the release of Prince Harry's controversial book. Charles is visiting a community shed in Aberdeenshire and will meet with local support groups. Buckingham Palace hasn't commented on any of the claims in his son's memoir. A short time ago in the city, the FTSE 100 was trading up 45 at 77.70. The pound buys $1.21 and €1.13. LBC weather. Further rain across southern areas, heavy in places but turning brighter from the west later, clearer in the north before heavy showers and gales arriving in the afternoon, a high of 13 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Dominic Ellis.
My name's Carl, and I'm a wombat.
Oh, not just any wombat, my very own nephew.
I've come from Oz to stay with my meerkat uncle Alexander and this other fella Serge.
It's Serge.
We're having heaps of fun. I unpacked all my stuff.
It's my room.
I played them my favourite tunes.
It's 3 a.m.
Ooh, I'm even going to teach them my wombat wrestling moves. So watch out, United Britain of Kingdom. This wombat's here to stay.
Don't wombat it, meerkat it with compare the market.
Simples.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with James O'Brien.
Minutes after 11 is the time. I said we weren't going to talk about Prince Harry, and we're certainly not doing a phone-in on him today. I mean, remain deeply sympathetic to his situation, and particularly with regard to the media. The media now, the newspapers now, the tabloid media now, which is pretty much all of it, really. I mean, literally, it's all of it. Only the Telegraph is technically a broadsheet. The Guardian is sort of somewhere in between, and I don't think anyone would include the Guardian in this description, but pretty much everybody else now desperately trying to defend themselves against the allegations that are, I mean, you know, the evidence is there. It's there in black and white. We talked yesterday about the front pages from 2013 covering the revelation that a soldier had killed enemies when on tour in Afghanistan, and fast forward 10 years after he's had the audacity to stand up to the media establishment and indeed to marry a woman of colour, an independent woman of colour, and suddenly that is a cause for epic condemnation, including by so-called military experts who, people with a little bit more time on their hands than I have written books themselves which include so-called kill counts or detail exactly how many enemy combatants were killed in an exchange or an encounter that they describe in grisly detail. Literally, some of the names. I mean, I haven't double-checked the clips and the page shots, the screenshots that have been put on Twitter, so I won't name them personally, but you wouldn't be massively surprised to discover who they are. Oh yes, I'm going on the radio to slag him off, but I have also written a book which includes kill count. Yeah, fine. But the reason I mention it is because guess how much it sold on day one in America, Canada, and the UK. Day one, publication day. It sold 1.4 million copies in a day. That is phenomenal. That is the biggest selling first day total for any non-fiction book ever. Obviously, the charts did not exist when the Bible was first published, which I appreciate not everyone agrees that it's non-fiction, but good God, if you pardon the pun, that is absolutely breathtaking. I've done about $250,000 on my first book, and I think into six figures on the second, and those are big numbers in publishing. You know, they are decent numbers. That's over years. That's weeks and months and years. He's done 1.4 million in a day. I've got to go home after this and start work on a book for which I had until this moment felt quite excited and have received a very generous advance. He got $20 million and he sold 1.4 million copies in a single day. Why do the rest of us even bother? Unbelievable, and congratulations. Honest, that is absolutely astonishing. 1.4 million. That's just a publishing story. Oh, and by the way, that's not an opinion, that's just counting. Now, we move into familiar territory, but wearing new clothes. Does that analogy work? You'll be familiar with Keir Starmer stating in July of last year, here it is, let me be very clear. With Labour, Britain will not go back into the EU, we will not be joining the single market, we will not be joining a customs union. And Sadiq Khan, who until quite recently, I interview him most months, although we haven't done it for a while. I think we've got one scheduled for next month. He's giving the Mansion House London Government Dinner, the keynote speech at the Mansion House London Government Dinner tonight. And it has been made public that he will...
rocks.